everyone, and welcome to Roots and Routes, where we dive into the immigrant experience and how it shapes identity, culture, and society. Today, I'm joined by Chidinma, and together we'll share our personal immigration stories, explore how immigration enriches communities, and discuss its challenges and opportunities. We'll also talk about how technology is changing the immigrant experience. Let's get started. Chidinma, why don't you start by sharing your family's immigration story?
Hey guys, thanks Ivy. So my parents, Ngazi and Chinyere, were both from a rural village in Nigeria. They moved to New York when they were in their late 20s, early 30s. It was definitely a huge leap for them going from the quiet village life to the busy streets of New York. Um, some may think like, why would you ever do that? And when I ask them, like many immigrant parents, the answer is always to give my children the opportunities that they didn't have.
Wow, that's really powerful. My parents also say the same thing. What was it like growing up as a child of immigrants?
It was definitely a mix of pride and challenges. Like when I was in middle school and elementary school, it was hard for me to navigate through my own identity. I saw the firsthand value of hard work, which is one of the values that I uphold to the highest standard to this day. My parents worked day and night. My mom was in law school. My dad was working for multiple companies. Um, but I also struggled with my identity. As a Black American, I faced stereotypes, and being African added on another layer. Sometimes I felt like I had to prove myself more than others. What about you?
Well, for me, my story's a little bit different. My parents moved to Qatar 6 months after I was born. They were originally from Taiwan and moved to Qatar for a better work opportunity. And Qatar is just like such an international hub, so I've always felt surrounded by diverse cultures. And that made me feel more connected, but at the same time more disconnected, since I never got to actually live in Taiwan and only got to visit every summer. And while that was fun, I feel like I was always culturally disconnected.
hmm That's really interesting. It must have been unique growing up in a place with such a mix of cultures.
Yeah, it was. I learned to navigate a world where different traditions and perspectives coexisted, but it made me question, where do I belong? But speaking of belonging, how do you maintain your cultural heritage while integrating into a new culture?
It's definitely a balancing act. At home, my parents made sure we stayed 100% connected to Nigerian traditions. Everyone in my family is an immigrant, so it's just me and my brother really that are the only people that are born in America. Um, Both of my parents, everyone in my family, they all speak Igbo, eating traditional food all the time, celebrating cultural holidays. But outside of that, I did have to learn how to adapt to American culture. But over time, I realized that I didn't have to choose one or the other. I could blend both. How about you?
Yeah, it's pretty similar for me. My parents really held on to Taiwanese traditions since they both, of course, were Taiwanese, but I was also immersed into Qatar's multicultural environment more than my parents since I was born and basically raised here. And so basically, I've learned to appreciate both sides, celebrating Lunar New Year while also embracing the global traditions. Immigrant communities really help with this kind of balance.
Absolutely, I absolutely agree. In New York, the New Jersey area, the Nigerian community has basically become our second family. We have so many different family friends that we're not related to. So it's definitely comforting to be around people who understand your experiences.
Yeah. Honestly, immigrants bring so much to their host countries, from food, traditions to art. Have you seen how Nigerian culture has influenced New York?
Definitely. Nigerian culture has literally influenced like America as a whole. Afrobeats is like huge now, Tyla, Rema, everybody loves them. Our food, jollof rice, suya, that's becoming more popular too. So it's not just one-sided. Living in the US has influenced me as well. What about Qatar?
I think in general, Qatar is a really diverse environment since there are a lot of expats and you see like Indian festivals or Filipino street
Mhm.
food. It's just like a whole blend of global traditions. But I feel like there isn't a lot of Taiwanese expats, so that does make us lonely at times. And while I love being in Qatar since it's a relatively safe environment and I've made a lot of great friends, I can't help but miss my homeland at times and wonder how my life would have been if my parents never immigrated.
Definitely, I agree. I think about that. But we also can't ignore the role immigrants play in the economy, which is pretty huge. What's your perspective on this?
Well, at least for Qatar, the economy thrives because of all these expats and immigrants, since they provide a lot of money for families and that really attracts them. Like my parents, for example, were part of a workforce that brought expertise to the country. Whether in
Mhm.
construction, healthcare, business, immigrants fill these essential roles. How about in New York?
It's definitely very similar. My dad worked for the UN and my mom was in law school. So they both contributed so much to the local economy and so much to Medicare and, the justice system, of course. But it wasn't easy, like things like credential recognition and discrimination were very big hurdles that my parents faced.
That's so true. Because despite the challenges, immigrants still find ways to contribute and succeed.
Mhm.
Immigration also changes the demographics of a region. Have you noticed this in New York?
Definitely. New York is one of the New York, New Jersey area, is one of the most diverse places in the world. You can see it in the schools, the neighborhoods, even religious practices. It's a melting pot where new ideas and traditions are constantly being introduced.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't really know changes due to immigration since I've basically been raised in Qatar, so I haven't experienced that change. But I have felt that this
Mm.
is really a diverse environment, incredibly young, full of expats and other students that also have the same experience as me with their parents moving from their homeland to Qatar for better job opportunities.
Mm. Let's talk about technology. How has it impacted your experience as an immigrant?
Well, I think social media really is the solution for me because it helped me stay connected to Taiwan since it was like watching videos of traditional festivals or using FaceTime to like connect with my parents, my grandma especially. And it also makes it easier to find support groups and communities. How about you?
Definitely, I agree. I use social media to keep up with Nigerian news and culture. I know like using WhatsApp is really, really prominent with like immigrants. So I use WhatsApp to talk to all my family in Nigeria. It also helps me navigate through life, as a child of an immigrant, finding resources, learning about opportunities, and, like the organization that we have, connecting with others who share similar experiences. Because I wouldn't have been able to, join our organization if it wasn't for social media.
Yes, I actually feel you. Well, this has been such an enriching conversation, Chidinma. We've shared our personal stories, explored the challenges and opportunities of immigration, and discussed how it shapes identity, culture, and the economy.
Yes, and we can't forget the role of technology in connecting immigrants to their roots while also helping them to thrive in their new homes.
To our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Take a moment to learn about immigrant stories in your community and celebrate the diversity that makes our world richer.
Thanks for having me, Ivy, and to everyone listening, keep celebrating your roots while embracing new opportunities.
Until next time on Roots and Routes, take care.